Hi y'all, welcome back. I'm getting ready to stitch the other gnome, Christmas gnome. I don't know if you'll have time to stitch all these on a t-shirt or not. Um, Let me turn this around so you can see what I'm getting ready to do. All right, so the first color stop that stitches is your vertical and your horizontal lines. And then you want to take your t-shirt with either a seam in it or one that you've ironed a seam on, so that you have something to center it with. And I'm using a very small piece of t-shirt because I'm running out of t-shirts. I'm going to have to invade my husband's t-shirts that he wears out in the yard that I washed, because that's what I took the last time. All right, so I've got my fake seam pressed in, and I'm just putting it up on the stabilizer. And I have my hem of my t-shirt or sweatshirt or pants or whatever right on top of the horizontal line. And I forgot that when I measured it a little while ago, I need to scoot it just a tad over this way. All right, so now color stop number 2 is going to stitch the cut line. And this isn't a very big cut line, okay, because we're dealing with a gnome here. Kind of hard to get much of a cut line. So my first color that is going to stitch, color stop number 3, is your placement line. It is pink. You don't have to change thread colors. It's just a placement line. You want to put in the first color that you're going to stitch with. In this case, it's his beard, so it's white. You could put down, if you're going to do applique, you can put down your white fabric. And I'm going to go ahead and stitch with my white somewhere. Okay, even though I'm not going to do applique, I'm going to stitch color stop number 3, which is your placement line. You won't be able to see it because I've got white thread in here. But this is a placement line for your white fabric if you want to use it. Now, I did a placement line and applique on the little girl. And you can look at her, the Christmas gnome girl with the candy cane, and see how that's done if you've not done applique. You can use fabric, you can use heat transfer vinyl, I think is what they use, whatever vinyl you use for your shirt, which is heat transfer vinyl. Okay, now you would put your fabric down, and color stop number 4 would stitch it, but I'm not going to do applique. I'm actually going to stitch the beard because it's a curly beard. It's a curly stitch, and I'm anxious to see what it's going to look like. So I'm not going to have you watch this. I'm going to let it get started just so you can see. I'm just doing a fill stitch on this. And, oh, that's the tack down. Sorry. I'm going to skip this. I'm going to skip down. Forgot to skip down. All right, so it's going to stitch a fill stitch that's curly. And it will take it a little while to stitch. But I want to see the effect that it has on the design. I've used this stitch before, but I can't remember what it looked like. I can only see it on my screen. So I'll come back when it's stitched some more. Alright, so here is what the beard looks like with curls on it. That's the fill stitch for the beard. So now color stop number 6 stitches the white satin stitching around it. And I'm just leaving in the color that I used, and off we go. and I'll be back when the satin stitching is finished. Now I forgot to tell you, I'm using water-soluble stabilizer in this. I used it on the little girl gnome, and I like the fact that, sorry, I was reaching for, that I can wash it off and it all disappears around here, and the design stays nice and soft. So that's what I've been doing lately. I keep going back to tearaway, but I really like the wash away. Okay, so the satin stitching has finished, and now it's going to do the top part, the white part of the candy cane. I have so little of a t-shirt here, it's really cutting it close. I don't make t-shirts and sell t-shirts, so I don't need to stitch this on a t-shirt for me to sell because I don't sell them. I don't want to sell them, so I'm just cutting up older t-shirts that have been worn and washed, and using them for my side seam designs, because I want to be able to stitch it on a t-shirt material to make sure it stitches okay. Well, my machine did not like where my spool was, and I didn't raise the little holder for the thread up because I'm using a large spool. Alright, I'll be back when this is finished stitching some more. I don't know if you can see it or not. Alright, so the next color stop is green for his mitten. That's color stop number 9. And I'll be right back. Alright, so we're going to stitch his mitten. It's time to do his hat. So you can do his hat in any color you want. Of course, any of this you can stitch it whatever color you want. I'm going to do his hat in an applique. So I have my red hat fabric, and I'm going to put my red thread back in. Alright, so color stop number 10 is your placement stitch for your hat. This was very thin t-shirt. Alright, so I'm going to take my fabric and put it on top of my placement stitch and hope that I have enough to cover. Oh my word, barely. And I'm going to stitch color stop 11, which is the tack down. That's close. And now we need to trim the fabric away. And once again, if you hold your fabric up and you keep your scissors flat on your shirt or your project, it will go right up against that stitch line. See? Alright, so now we're going to put it on, and we're going to skip color stop number 12 because that is a fill stitch. If you weren't going to do applique, you could just stitch the hat. So we'll skip color stop 12 because we're doing applique, and now it's going to do the satin stitching around most of the design. And I say that because it will skip the areas where it's going to have the Christmas lights. Did I not get that? Yeah, I should have. It won't stitch where the Christmas lights are going to be. This fabric that I'm using is very ravelly. It's supposed to be really good quality fabric. But I am going to, well, no, I can't. So I don't know. So this is always a test when I do these, and this is the first time I'm doing this one. Usually I don't have to stitch them again. I might make some minor changes. So we're going to have a bulb here, we're going to have a bulb over here, we're going to have one up at the top. A light, Christmas light bulb. I don't know. So at this point, I'm going to dig out my mylar. some little threads poking out. There we go. Alright, so color stop number 14 is for the white part of his hat. I don't know if the Mylar will show through if I use the Mylar here or not. It is an applique, so I'm going to stitch that applique, but I need to change colors. I just don't want it to be red. Put my white back on. Alright, so color stop number 14 is a placement stitch for the brim of his hat. Color stop number 15 is a tack down. I'm not going to stitch that tack down. I'm going to skip it. So we're going to go down one, and I'm going to put my Mylar right here covering up a pretty good bit, and I'm going to stitch the first part of the hat. I don't know if this is going to show up and be shiny or not, so I want to cut this off. I don't want to have to sit here and hold this. I'm going to save it because I am going to use it in the lights. Now the lights I've done in a lighter stitch, and I know they will show, that the Mylar will show up through it. I don't know if it will on this or not. So this is just, I'm just playing around here. And it has the underlay on it, so I don't know. And it's a fill stitch, a normal fill stitch, so I don't know if it'll show through on them, show the Mylar or not. And I can't tell yet, but I don't think it's showing through on this, no. Okay, so that was a waste. But that's alright. So this is the fill stitch for the brim of his hat. You could do it as an applique if you wanted by putting your fabric down and with over the placement stitch and then having it tacked down and skipping this step, which is color stop 16. And going to the next step, which is the satin stitching around the brim. I'll be back. Alright, so that fill stitch finished, and I'm just tearing away the Mylar. And no, that's too, no, it's not showing through, so don't waste your time doing that. Alright, so next thing to stitch is the satin stitch around the outside of that. I've got a thread sticking up there. Alright, I'm going to change colors to pink. It's time to do his nose. The satin stitching around the brim of his hat is finished. color stop 18 is for his nose. And regardless of what you do, applique or fill stitch, if you just do the satin stitching outline for this design, you still have to stitch his nose, the whole thing. Alright, so now we start the bulbs, the Christmas bulbs. And let's see here. I'm not going to do green here. I'm going to do blue. In the design, it says to do green, but I'm going to change it to blue and put blue, green, and gold. So I'm going to do blue Christmas bulb. Okay, so like I was saying a little while ago, the Christmas bulbs or lights are kind of an open design, not as heavy a fill as this is. Cancel. I forgot to put down my Mylar. And the Mylar should show through these. So I'm going to put down my Mylar. I'm going to go back up. I'm going to start again. I put it up high enough. Ooh, just barely. And that Mylar is showing through this stitch really nicely. So I'm going to tear that away. Okay, and I'm going to put my Mylar up here. Well, first I'm going to put my green thread over here. Okay. So I'm going to put my Mylar over here and hope I've given it enough space, because it starts in the center and works its way out. So now we're going to do tear my Mylar away from this one, and it just tears easily because there's a straight stitch that stitches after it's finished. Alright, and now I'm going to put my gold thread in. Alright, so I've got my gold thread in. Now this bulb is a little bit smaller than the other two. And for some reason it's stitching different, and it's the exact same bulb, just a little smaller. Very strange. They're the exact same bulb. Okay, tear that Mylar away. All right, put that away for future use. All right, so the next color stitch, and the next to the last one, is the little string, you know. So you can do that any color you want. Now, because this is a red hat, I'm thinking I'm going to snazz it up a little bit with some, maybe I should put silver instead of, okay, yeah, so let's do silver. All right, this is going to stitch the little string that the lights are on, and I elected to do silver. You could do it in black, you could do it in smoke color, you could do it in green, you could do it however you want. And I probably should have made it a triple stitch. Yeah, that looks good. All right, the next color is black. It's the last color, and it's going to stitch the bottom of the lights, you know, the piece that attaches to the string, the cord, the whatever you want to call it. And I'm, whoops, let me cut this and pull that through there. Okay, so this is just going to stitch the bottom part of the light. And y'all know how much I love black thread. Not. I loathe black thread. Alright, so it's going to finish these other two and I'll be back. And we're finished. And there is our side seam gnome. And you'll notice I didn't cut the seam out, the fabric out down here. I just left it in, so you don't have to cut that out. So you can do that design right at the bottom of your shirt or your sweatshirt without trimming all this, if you don't like to trim that. And the little lights sparkle. I don't know if you could see it on camera or not, but they sparkle with that Mylar in them, and they are an open design, so it's not going to be a fill like this, or the nose, or the glove. Alrighty, so I would love to see what you're going to do with it. Please post a picture in the group, and thanks for watching. Enjoy. Merry Christmas.